Good afternoon. It is February 10th, 2022. I'm going to try and keep this quick. I'm at home with COVID with my son. I might have missed some trades in here, but I was looking at the chart quite a bit, especially like before this point. So I should have caught most of it. I think what happened today is we had this leg down in the overnight, and when that failed and created this low and bounced, we went to test the closing. And by the way, that's Mack was talking about this in yesterday's video, the gap created yesterday. So you could see the close from 2 days ago, and we never tested that yesterday. So that's just what was happening here. It bounced at that closing price from 2 days ago and tested the highs, and then has just been trading down ever since. And so I do believe that we got that measured leg right here and bounced. But we're continuing to go lower. So let's try and take a look at these, the trades I marked. And the sell-off was very strong early on. So 5 o'clock came in the downtrend, but there's no way to. Oh wait, it looks like it came at the beginning right there. So unless you enter on this lower high, which you could have to test the lows. So you can see from this overnight range that we just blew through the measured move of that, and then we get a double bottom here, which is important because on the MES I got trapped. Just looking at this as like a first entry, second entry, and there was a signal bar like this one, and they trapped me, took it higher before going lower. So I think if you look at this as a double bottom, you get a first entry, second entry setup. And that works well. And if you didn't want to pull the trigger there, you got a lower high. And so that gives you this leg down, make a new low, first entry, second entry, first break. So we're expecting to test these lows. And yeah, we bottom out down here at the closing price from 2 days ago, and you get a first entry, second entry. This one definitely looks congestive. So I'll try and make this bigger. This one certainly looks congestive, and if you know that we hit that closing price, you're probably not trying to go short unless the setup's great. So that does work, but we start going higher, and you get a new low, first entry, failed second entry. And guys, if you kept your stop, if you got filled right here, you hit your target, and if you were going for a runner and you understand what's going on after we close this gap, you might want to keep your stop 2 points below this, even though you got a scalp. And if you did that, you could have rode this all the way up to the highs. So if you're reading it right, you might want to do that. But anyway, let me get back to it. Sorry, my son's clicking around. So yeah, we just keep going higher. I don't see any setups. This looks congestive. And then you might look at this as like some type of failure, but it doesn't set up well on our chart. We get this leg up into this congestion, and it's just chopping around for a minute before you get this. It looks like a double top here, first entry, second entry, counter trend breakout. That sets up pretty well. I actually would have probably had my lows like that. That sets up really well. It also kind of looks like we got a trend line here. And I made that trend channel yellow. And you can see a bunch of people got trapped there, going short for whatever reason. So we find some support up here. First entry. Failed second entry doesn't trigger here, triggers here, but this is just congestion, so we're going sideways. And then we bounce, and you get a first entry, failed second entry, and this is aggressive, but this trend up was very strong. And I took this higher low, kind of, I think, or not, I took it, I drew it. I think I was looking at this as a double test. Yeah, and it kind of looks like a new low, first entry, failed second entry. So, and it's off the EMA. then we start losing some momentum, and you get a failed second entry long setup right here. That yellow channel is really just, it's not really, I don't think it should hold too much weight because we broke through it right here. So maybe I should draw the lows from there. And that would make this trade even more aggressive, really. So, just some things to keep in mind. If you're looking at that yellow channel, you might be a little too weary to take that, especially you're going into this support. So maybe I should mark this green after this strong move up. But we find support at this trend channel, and I don't think you would have had this drawn until these two swings, so can't take this one. This is the failure, but this kind of looks like a failure in itself, so I should probably, this is hard to say. Maybe I shouldn't mark these, but you might want to be aggressive in here and enter if you see this trend channel. But if you're patient, you get a second entry long, another test of that lower support level at the trend channel, and it rockets up. But then that fails, and start going lower. You get a break of this channel, and it kind of just withers into a new low and bounces. So let's see here. We got a first entry, second entry. You would have gotten trapped here. And that looks like a solid entry, but you're above the EMA. And at this point, we don't really know. We're not very confident, or you shouldn't be very confident that we're going lower, because we just broke this channel. And that was a strong channel up. So it could have been this yellow channel, and then we got a new high and reversed. But I think this confirms that there is a channel here. And so, I don't know, man. You just got to be careful. Is this the greatest setup? No, but it looks pretty good to me. So, not too sure what to say about that. It could be that this trend channel is off of this stem, and I drew it incorrectly, but I don't know. But when you get this first failed second entry long, I think you have to take that. And I made a note to compare this to a failed second entry short yesterday that Mack marked, but I didn't get to doing that. Hopefully I'll get to do that later. And then you get this, all this is a lower high. And this is definitely aggressive, but we're moving down pretty strong. So I like that at that point. I don't see anything in here. Come down here. We get a bounce. You might consider this one. I'm going to mark that. That's so bullish. It just looks like a first entry, like we got a double bottom here. But that looks very bullish, and you could see it's probably a hidden failure. So then we form this range, and of course the measured moves in both sides support and resist prices, and we're just chopping around. But if you draw this channel, you might take this entry as like a failed second entry. That's aggressive because this is looking like a valid range. And then we just reverse, and the floor falls out. And I don't see any way to get into this move, unfortunately. You might take this as a second entry short, but that's aggressive. The signal bar is no good. And then you might look at what I'm looking at here is I'm thinking that we had a second entry down here and a higher low right here, and that's very bullish, and it sets up above the EMA. All right, so this is a higher low, but then when we turn down with that bearish bar right here, second entry short right at that level of resistance, I think you got to take that. But look, I mean, it bounces, so you really just got to be careful. And if you want to take this failure, look how bullish that is. So it's really tough to to play these ranges, and that's why Mack recommends the breakouts. And really, this is probably the best entry in here, but it's a lower high. But look, even that's congestive, so just be careful. You can see we test the measure move up here before turning down. First entry, failed second entry long, and that can get you a very nice move. We start moving down. I don't think you can get in on this. Looks like a hidden second entry right here that you might consider. Come down, hit this trend channel, rock it up. First entry, failed second entry short. And when this barely moves up, that's when you got to be real wary of going long. Because I was thinking this would rock it up. And look, we do get close to a measured move, but we don't quite hit it. So then we come back down, and first entry, failed second entry, you might consider that. And that just rockets us down. And then we get another, it's just a repeat pattern right here. So when you see that, this rocketing up through the EMA, first entry, failed second entry right here. There's dojis though, but when we get this first entry, matching lows down here, second entry long, and that extremely bullish bar, I say you take that. Then you get a second entry up here, but this is looking like, I mean, it looks all right because I bet you this is just a measured move of this range. Oops. So if you see that, you probably have it like this. If you see that, you might be weary of taking this because it could go down to this line, which it does. You can see it bounces at this measure move. But you might consider this. Definitely not as good of a setup as this one, I don't think. And you get a first, failed second entry long, very bearish bar. We come up here and we get this same pattern. And this time you get a failure opportunity. So there's that. And here you get a second entry short. And look, we tried to go back in the overnight highs a couple times and it failed. So I think this second entry short is good. And that's what I saw for today. And so one, okay, I took 2 trades and I think, not sure what happened with these two. Okay, I took this aggressive, like, lower high type move. I think I probably looked at it as a second entry short. But you're going into the lows, so that's risky, but it worked. And I tried to hold a runner, which was a mistake. So I think I got out at break even. Then here I went long. Yeah, so I looked at this as a second entry down here and a higher low, but I don't think you should be looking at it like that. And when we're trying to make go down to these lows, so not too satisfied with those trades. But anyway, hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day.